So the big news last week, Bryce Underwood, LSU commit? Nah, Michigan. Rumors were, reports, whatever you want to call them, big NIL deal. Are we shocked? Is anybody shocked at that? Nah. Dave Portnoy is dunking on everybody on Twitter. Why? Based on what he said, would imagine he was pretty heavily involved. And JuJu Lewis flips to Colorado. So I want to talk about Bryce Underwood first, because I think he's slightly more interesting, but I mean, it's kind of a coin toss between these two guys. So Underwood flips from LSU to Michigan. Nothing's going right for Brian Kelly and LSU. They scrape by Vanderbilt at home. The Commodores cover by a half point. LSU did win the game, of course. Let's not get that confused in any way. But the end of the season hasn't been what they're looking for. The recruiting trail is not going how they would like it to, and then you lose the number one quarterback, and he flips over to Michigan. So Michigan this year, all season long, has been thought of as, well, they're a quarterback away. They just need a quarterback. And that's true. That's true. Davis Warren has played much better the second half of the year. Michigan, I think their final 6 games, you'll look back and say, boy, it was kind of a different team from the first 6 games, but they haven't been great this season. They're a pullback team. Am I surprised? No. Are Michigan fans, based on the ones I interacted with over the summer? Apparently so. But you know what? That's okay, because Michigan's future looks just fine. They're still recruiting at a pretty good level and bringing in Bryce Underwood. It's a big name. But the idea that Michigan is only a quarterback away, to me, is an inaccurate assessment of the Michigan offense from this season. Colston Loveland is going to the NFL. That guy's really good. He's really good. Who has Michigan been able to throw the football to besides Colston Loveland as their passing game has found a little bit of footing? That's just not that's not something that you can really come up with a consistent answer for, because it isn't there. So Michigan needs to hit the portal or have guys seriously develop on the perimeter. Now, maybe the guys they have in-house would look a lot better if they had better quarterback play. I'll give you that particular argument. But let's not pretend that Bryce Underwood is stepping into a situation in which he's going to have all the weapons in the world around him. I trust Michigan's offensive line. I trust their run game. I don't trust what they've got on the perimeter right now. I really don't. And as for Bryce Underwood himself, no, he's not going to be asked to do as much as even, say, Dylan Raiola at Nebraska or Trevor Lawrence at Clemson back in the day, or any of those other quarterback prospects that start as true freshmen. It's a really hard thing to do. Really, really hard thing to do. Sure, he's a guy who's talented enough to come in and do it effectively. But how many true freshmen can actually lead their program to a championship level? I think this is a huge move for Michigan. I think it is much bigger in 2026 than it is in 2025. I think 2025 for Michigan is going to be a foundational sort of year, because you cannot ask a true freshman to come in and run an offense right away and say, oh, he's going to light the world on fire. He could do a lot of really good things. He could do a bunch of good things. DJ Lagway at Florida is doing a lot of really good things. Go look at his numbers from last week's win against Ole Miss. He had his moments, had some spots, but he's not going for 300 to 400 yards a game. That just doesn't happen in college football. It's a big jump. It is a big, big jump from high school to college football, especially for quarterbacks. So this is a guy who can come in and absolutely succeed right away. I don't think he immediately catapults Michigan back into the Big Ten and national championship discussion come 2025. Maybe I'm underselling him. And the one thought I have on that as to how I could be wrong with that opinion is he's not going to be asked to do a lot. I think Underwood has a higher chance of succeeding in the short term than JuJu Lewis does at Colorado. Because over at Colorado, they have one system, and that's, hey, quarterback, throw the ball a lot. And we've got great receivers. If you took Michigan and Colorado's offenses and you blended them together, you'd have the best offense in all of college football. You'd have a power running game that can carry the day with great play action shots that is with a run game incredibly well schemed. You'd have a good offensive line and you'd have elite receivers. But these are two different teams. So Bryce Underwood can come in and succeed, but he's not changing Michigan's fortunes back to a championship level right away. Remember, J.J. McCarthy, the guy who led Michigan to a national championship, did not start right away in his college career. Did not start right away. Took a little while. It's going to take these guys a little while. Which brings me to JuJu Lewis at Colorado. Couple thoughts here. Number one, far more is going to be put on his shoulders than Bryce Underwood at Michigan. That's the first thing. Second thing, for anybody who thinks that Deion Sanders has NFL aspirations or is not going to be around at Colorado for the long haul, this move should make you seriously question that outlook. I'm not going to give you a 100% certainty factor that Deion Sanders wouldn't try and follow his son into the NFL. He could. He absolutely could. But for all the critics Deion Sanders has out there, or all the criticisms that he faces, I think most of them are incredibly valid. But one thing about Deion Sanders, I do believe he is genuine in, is his desire to lead young men to be the best version of themselves on and off the field. You're not doing that in the NFL. You're doing that in college. You are doing that in college. You are that coach. You are that father figure. I think it is the most redeeming quality about Deion Sanders that I have seen. I don't care for everything he does, but I also don't hate every single thing that he does. And by the way, he's clearly a pretty good football coach. That's just becoming increasingly obvious to anyone who's paying attention. But if you're looking for a reason for him to stick around, mentoring JuJu Lewis and making him into the next great Colorado quarterback, that's something that he hasn't proven yet. And whether or not he'd admit it, I think there's a big part of Deion Sanders that wants to prove the doubters wrong. He'll say, don't listen to him, tune out the noise and all this sort of stuff. No, I think he hears. I think he knows. And I think he likes being in Colorado because he knows he can do well. And he's brought in a bunch of talent the last couple of years. But if you're looking for a reason to latch onto to say, well, why would Deion Sanders stick around? Well, because he's got JuJu Lewis, who's not going to be Shedeur Sanders in year one. I think Colorado is absolutely a pullback candidate in 2025. But come 2026, once JuJu's gotten his feet wet, got a season under his belt, learned how to play at the speed of college football, made freshman mistakes, learned from those freshman mistakes, gets another year of coaching from that staff who are clearly doing a really good job. Yeah, I think this can be a program that continues to win in the Big 12, which is just the one most wonderful, crazy conference championship race ever. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere, quite frankly. I think it's going to continue to be the league of utmost parity year in and year out. And I think that's great. And we should enjoy it for what it is. But JuJu Lewis committing to Colorado, flipping from USC, I think it represents a level of commitment from the Buffs and the NIL front that you should absolutely be excited about if you're a Colorado fan, number one. And number two, I think it shows that your head coach wants to stay there. How involved do you think Deion Sanders was in that recruitment? I can't say personally. I wasn't there. I don't have this sourced. I'm just saying I'm going out on a limb and declaring he was probably heavily involved. And I don't think you don't flip a quarterback from USC and the quarterback whisperer that is Lincoln Riley. I know Miller Moss isn't working out, but last time I checked, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray are all starting in the NFL. Caleb Williams starting in the NFL. That appeal has still been there. You don't get a quarterback to go from that guy to you if the head man isn't heavily involved. So I think this speaks volumes about what Deion Sanders' future plans are going to be. I think that's an encouraging thing if you're a Colorado fan. But for both him and Bryce Underwood, I will remind Colorado fans, Michigan fans, and any other college football fan out there listening to the show right now, true freshmen are not leading you at the quarterback position to a conference or national championship. That is not something that we hardly ever see. Give me every example you can think of. But for these guys, it's going to take some time, but they can both be great. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.